Give it up for Jensen Clifford, everybody! Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Ashley, who was a comic earlier. No, I am not wearing a V-neck. However, my hair does account for at least 50% of my personality. So I have that going for me, at least. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was good. See, I thought that was funny. I went home recently, and it's so weird going home. I live in like the Phoenix area, and I was driving around, and it's weird because it's like, oh my gosh, that used to be a dry cleaners that I worked at. And you see another place, and you're like, oh, that was the Arby's, and there's my family's like favorite Chinese food place we went to. And it's weird to go back now and see that, but I can't wait to like for the kids who are growing up now to drive in 15 to 20 years around and just say, oh, that was our favorite pawn shop. It's closed. Oh, what? They turned the check cashing place back into an Arby's? That doesn't make any sense. And oh, our vape store, guys, our vape store's gone. We all have our favorites from back home. My grandpa. So in the Phoenix area, there's a place in downtown Phoenix known as the Historical District. Now, the Historical District had two different kind of housing renaissances, if you were. One in the 1920s, and again in the late 50s, early 60s. So it's literally these neighborhoods filled with homes that are either Art Deco or mid-century modern. I know, they're gorgeous. And the only people that appreciate them, older gays. Like the well-off fancy gays all live there, and it's kind of known as like the fancier gayborhood, because they appreciate the architecture of it all. So my grandpa leans over to my dad a couple years ago, and he goes, you know, your cousin Arlen, he's got a son who bought a home in the Historical District, right? Which is my new favorite euphemism. And but at the time I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of like the nicest homophobic slur anybody could ever say. Like, can you imagine these guys? Not only do they keep their houses beautiful, but they mow their lawns. Like, is it noises? Is that what sets everybody going tonight? No, but there was a thing I just saw on Facebook of like the CIA had like a report from like the early 80s about like how to spot a homosexual. And it was literally like, employers, watch out. They comb their hair and they show up on time and they do good work. Like, go get them, watch out for them, they're everywhere. So my mom my mom, she's a YouTuber. Guys, my mom started her own YouTube channel and she has 1,500 subscribers. Like, okay, so it's called Stash Sisters, and it's on a kind of a subgenre of YouTube known as FlossTube, which has nothing to do with dental hygiene. Think even more specific. It's only about cross-stitching, right? So talk about like finding your lane and really staying in it. My mom is just like, cross-stitching, got it. So she started making these videos because they call like what they sew with, they call it floss or whatever. So it's the floss tube, Stash Sisters, because they have their stash of all their stuff they do. Anyway, she has 1,500 subscribers, which is far more than me on YouTube, at Jensen Buddy, not to plug it or anything. But it's kind of weird, because I'll watch, like I subscribe, I'm a good son. I'll watch her videos, you know, gotta give her the views. But it's kind of messed with my algorithms a little bit, because now it's just like, hey, videos you might like. Like, here's like a roller coaster, and here's a bunch of drag queens, here's some comedy, and here's a bunch of 60-year-old white women talking about cross-stitching. You like this, right? You're subscribed to it. It's bizarre. So she was talking with my grandmother recently, and there was this throw pillow that my mom had, and she's like, I don't really want it anymore, and I offered it to Jensen, but he didn't want it, and my grandma's like, he didn't want the throw pillow. And she's like, no, he didn't have room in his suitcase. He just really doesn't go with this house or whatever. And my grandmother's like, I don't know. Like, maybe he's, you ever thought of Jensen's maybe just like faking it? She's like, faking what? She's like, I'm just not, who would turn down, what kind of person who lives in the Historical District would turn down a throw pillow? And to be fair, she has a point. But at the same time, it just didn't fit in my suitcase. I couldn't imagine doing that. I weirdly had the chance to actually watch TV for the first time at home. That's not Netflix. I was flipping around, and an episode of The Kardashians came on. And I realized I've actually never seen an episode. Yet I somehow knew every single character's names and like full story arcs. Like I was watching this episode for the first time ever in my life, and I thought, how have I seen this already? And it was funny because then I thought of other shows. I was like, what shows had like prominent runs? Like, did you know Jag was on TV for 10 years? Can anyone in this room name one character from the TV show Jag? No, I didn't think so. How do we all know all of the Kardashians' names, yet I can't tell you a storyline that happened on Jag? Neither can anyone in this room, apparently, by your complete silence, I'm guessing. So fun fact, I had a stroke. Well, 3 strokes. Well, okay. So I have a stroke, I go to the hospital, and I was like, great, this is it, this is how I die, a stroke in Brooklyn, good for me. And only to find out it's actually not a stroke. What it's called is a complicated migraine. Yes, so it's a migraine that gives you a warning before it comes on. Most people see like some beautiful sparkly bits. Most people get really sensitive to light. Mine is a complicated migraine, which means it gives me every single symptom of a stroke without actually it being a stroke. So yes, it's complicated, to say the least, much like a serial killer is complicated. So I'm laying in the hospital with the Jeffrey Dahmer of migraines, and it was the absolute worst. And so they give me meds, the meds work, they're great, everything's going wonderful, except for when I first took them, they're like, just so you know, for the first month, it might mess with your GI tract a little bit. And I was like, that's fine. So now I'm playing the world's worst game of take-home Would You Rather. Like, would you rather have a stroke once a week or fiery, unproductive diarrhea 18 times a day for a month? Huh? Which will you? Which? So I chose the diarrhea, and I was so excited when a month later, when I finally had my first solid poop in over a month, I was so excited, I actually forgot to take my meds and had my 3rd stroke that night, and I just do not recommend it. Everyone, thank you so much. You all have a wonderful evening.